charge your batteries, run your appliances, and keep an eye on your battery's health, all in the one place. Our control hub with DC-DC charger and inbuilt shunt gives you full control of your 12 volt system. Here's our 12 volt control hub install guide. Here's what you're going to need. Start with your control hub. You'll also need a DC-DC wiring kit, a suitably gauged positive battery lead with fuse and a negative lead to go along with it, some split tubing, a cable gland, some screws, cable ties, electrical tape, heat shrink, some female blade terminals, 5mm ring terminals, and then some leads to wire in your accessories. We're also going to run an extra output out of the hub, so we've got some leads to help us out with that. Now let's get some tools together. A drill with some bits to suit, a couple of Phillips head screwdrivers, a socket set, wire strippers, crimpers, and some diagonal pliers. Here's our plan of attack for wiring. Your whole 12 volt setup needs to run through the box. You'll also need to wire your accessories in there too. Before we get stuck into the installation, make sure you've thought about these next couple of things. Make sure you're starting with a fully charged battery. Have a think about what cables or accessories you might be running in and out of the box. Remember that all loads coming from your battery should run off the shunt, so even if you've got an inverter in your system, this should run through the hub too. If you've got some super heavy duty leads in your system, you may need to drill some bigger holes into the side of the box to fit them. Make sure you've got a good spot to mount the box. Keep it close to your battery and out of harm's way. In the back of the cab or in the canopy is going to work perfectly. Now let's get the car in the garage and get to work. Start by getting your DC-DC wired in. We're going to quickly jump through this step here, but there's plenty more info in our DC-DC install video. Get your split tube over the DC-DC wiring kit and secure any connections with electrical tape. Remove the fuse from the lead, but don't forget to put this back in later. Then, open the bonnet and connect the leads to the starter battery under the bonnet. Next, you'll want to route your leads under the vehicle, fastening them in place with cable ties. Make sure to keep them away from any hot, moving or sharp parts. The cables will then plug into the side of your control hub, so run the leads all the way to where you're placing the hub. Again, this should be pretty close to your auxiliary battery. Ours is in the back of the canopy here. We're now going to get our canopy mounting surface in place, and then get the battery fitted. Let's get back over to the workbench. Grab a screwdriver and open the hub. Now we're going to run your positive and negative battery leads into the box. Cut the grommets, thread the leads through, and then connect them up. The negative lead goes to the vacant bolt on the shunt. You'll also want to ground your setup here too. On the load side of your shunt, connect an earthing lead no smaller than 13 square mil and connect it to a suitable grounding point on your vehicle. Then connect the positive lead to the 8mm bolt on the bus bar. We've decided to get some lights hooked to some of the hub's rocker switches. We've measured and cut the accessories leads to length. We're then going to connect a 5mm ring terminal onto your negative lead and crimp it down into place. On the positive lead, add a blade terminal, and then thread them through the grommet. You can then hook the negative to the bus bar on the hub and the positive to the back of the switch simply by plugging the blade terminal over the back of them. If you've got other accessories like fridges or pumps, you'll be doing exactly the same thing here. We've also decided to wire in a live Anderson style port. To do this, thread your lead through the grommet and wire to both bus bars. This is going to mean that any current coming through this Anderson style port is going to be measured correctly through the shunt. Next, ask a mate to help you out. We're going to mount the hub straight onto your surface. There's a couple of pre-drilled mounting points on the back of the hub, but if you need to mount it in another way, feel free to put some extra holes through. Now that the box is in place, you can now connect the leads from the hub to the battery. Grab the drill and get the box shut. Our next step is setting the shunt. Flick through to the setting that you're looking to change, then hold the set button down for a couple of seconds to go to the edit mode. It's then just a matter of using the arrows to set the figures you're after. You can then plug in that DC-DC charger. The solar input will go into the dedicated Anderson style plug, then the alternator input will go into the DC-DC port. This could be a traditional 2-pin or 3-pin Anderson, both fit. You'll then just need to set the DC-DC to suit the battery chemistry. You can now run your setup however you like. Plug in your chargers, run extra lighting, get your pumps powered, it's all ready to go. After more info on the installation process, check out the user manual on our control hub. Otherwise, get in contact with our customer support team today.